So hi everybody and welcome back to C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 290 and now we start with our learning some words. And like I said in my last video, these are the headlines which you should already watch. It's not too difficult, we are not going into details. And now I go here in the section expression and statement. Today we start with the statements. I have here both, and here in the expression section we concentrate first the easy way. The easy ways are just the operators. It is this table here, and the reason why it's so easy because these are the common expression which you find most time, but there are many other kind of expression which we have go through fast as well, but not in this video. We concentrate us here on this one, and we start with statements. So here in the statement section, when you click here, this one, and again we are referring later to understand the whole C++ code to this page here, to this language, not the details, just the headlines. And our goal is just to distinguish this with the words which they use in C++. And the question is why we need that. Because later I want to try to explain you some value categories and all this kind of stuff. And the problem is they are using all-time statements and expressions, and then they are mixing this, they are changing that. And if you don't know the words, or you can't identify this kind of stuff in the code, you will not understand it. That's the reason why we have to do this. And let's get started. Here I'm in the statement section. Here we start with this little example, and you can see in this little example we have here a sequence, and we have different kind of statements. Interesting is, when we read the word statement, you have to think first about the semicolon. Most time, careful, not all time. Every statement has not a semicolon. There are statements which has a semicolon at the end, and there are statements which has not a semicolon. But the nice thing is, if you see a semicolon, you know that this kind of stuff will be a statement. But the second question is then, what kind of statement? Because yes, it is a statement, we are in statements, but there are different names for the statements, and these names you can actually read here. So we have here around 9. The nice thing is we know almost all, only not the last one, this one we have not talked, but the other ones we have already seen a lot. And we go fast through this. So let's start with the label statement here. The label statement, when I scroll down, you can see is, for example, I don't know if you have talked about the goto statement already. The goto is, let me click this fast and show you this one, is keyword actually, but it's a very dangerous keyword. And I say dangerous because you have to be careful when you are using goto. At least you have to check the code a little bit more than the other codes, because goto can cause big problems if you don't know what you are doing. Anyway, that's not our subject here. Let's concentrate us on the label statements. And you can see the goto here is jumping to a label which you have specified here anywhere. Let's see where he specified something. Go to label free. Where is the label free? I don't know where it is, but anyway, you are jumping then to this label. For example, here is the label, and then it will jump when you say go to label here. This one is jumping back to this part here and starts here, and you can see already this jump can cause big problems if you are not careful in C++. But this one is a label statement. Okay, let's go back and go to a label which we already know. For example, the switch statement. Careful, the switch statement is interesting as well. Why? I click here on the switch, and I said at the start here, statements can have a semicolon or not a semicolon, right? When you see a semicolon, you can be sure this will be a statement. Then you have just to distinguish the statements, okay? But the switch here is actually also a statement. Here you can read it, but the switch itself, when you see here the whole construct, at the end there is no semicolon, right? So you can see there are construct like switch, and we will find the if and the other kind of construct which has not a semicolon and are also considered a statement, but we are concentrating right now here on labels, and we know a switch has labels. Where's the label actually here in the switch? Can you see it? This one, the case, and then you have to specify what kind of name you want and so on. And this is also here. All right, so label statements. Let's go back here to the label, to the label section. This is this one here, is one of the switch and the default label as well in the switch. Okay, we learned now the switch is a statement, the goto is actually also a statement without semicolon. And we already know this is nice, so it's easy, and our goal, like I said, when you see it, when you see a semicolon, probably a statement, then you have just to distinguish it, what kind of statement. We go on. Okay, label expression, that's enough for us. We know anything with label is probably a statement, a label statement. Let's go to the expression. Wait a minute. We wanted to learn expression. Let's see this one here in this big construct of C++. Expression and statements are different, right? But why they have here expression statements together? And here is actually an example. And here is something what you have to think. All this semicolon, like I showed you before, the statements, they are statements, but they can be the kind of statements can be anything. Here we have a declaration statement. Here we have an expression statement. So here is an expression statement, would be this. And later we have a declaration statement with this. And perhaps we have even an initialization statement and so on. So important is we can have these statements as an expression too. And now the second example here is an expression statement. The first one was this declaration statement. Your job at start is just to say, okay, this is in the group declaration, this is in the group expression statement. And again, the easiest way to distinguish this is add a semicolon, yes, statement. And now you have to try to distinguish that one. You can see this one is that what we learn. And then when we go to the expression, I said the easiest way is this operator table when you know this a little bit, because there are other statements as well with words which we have to watch later. But this list, this operator table here is very easy. You can see the assignment here on top, this increment, logical comparator, member access, and other. Most of them we have talked already, so most of them you know, right? That's nice. And the only thing what we have to talk a little bit later is probably here a little bit. The function call is special, and here, and this one we know also, and so on. But that's nice because now you can go here and now you can try to understand this expression statement. What is the statement here? You can say, okay, it has a semicolon. This whole thing is an expression statement. But again, now we try to analyze this. Statement part is just the semicolon probably. The expression part is now what? This one or this one? You can see, yeah, it's not absolute clear, but you have to figure this out. And how you figure this out? You watch the table. Okay, I have here a plus. This part is definitely an expression, but what is that? This assignment? Yes. I have this assignment part here as well, so you can see even this expression here is actually, we have here two operators, one this one and one is an expression uses another expression. So two expressions here actually, but at the end, yeah, it's an expression. The whole thing is also an expression. So expression statement. We try to understand this just to distinguish this a little bit. But interesting is this one here where I made also a mistake. What is here? What happens here? This one is actually an operator. This one is an assignment operator, or in this case it's a special case because that was the mistake I made. This one here is also a declaration. A declaration is special because this variable n is introduced to C++ compiler. The compiler is recognizing this one here. At this line here, the compiler already know this one, and it is using the already existing one here, and it is changing something. So you can see here it is more a computation, here it is just an introduction to C++. You can distinguish this a little bit with that. But okay, enough talk. You have to read this in a good C++ book to understand this a little bit more in detail. I won't just go over the very basics here. And the very basics are just we can see it and distinguish it. So here this one looks a little bit more more complex, but actually this one here, we have here again an operator. We have already talked about this one. This one is just this output operator, and then this one is chaining. We have already talked about the chaining as well. And again, this one is then later an expression. And to explain this one, why this one is an expression, this one is a little bit more complicated. We are not going to do it right now. We are continue. And here we have a return statement. Again, this return statement is a statement, semicolon, and a special kind, because we will see this here on. So again, we go on. We have talked a little bit about the expression statement. What you have to know here is when you read expressions, they can be, you have to analyze the part in front, what kind of statement this is. So here's the semicolon, says yes, it's a statement. This one has a semicolon, yes, it is a statement, but then you have to analyze what kind of statement. And yeah, the kinds of statements, the types you can read here. One of this one is probably, I think there is even a missing some. For example, it's interesting, you can have nothing here, just a semicolon, and then it is just called a null statement. It's missing, so it's not complete, but that's not so worse. We are anyway beginners. We start and read the common ones. That's enough. If we understand them, that's very good for us. All right, let's go on. The number 3, it's the compound statement. Very easy. The first part, what you see here, is actually almost a compound, but this one here is called not a compound statement, because this one is just a sequence, executed in sequence. This is just, yeah, sequence, because every line you can see till the semicolon is executed, and then the next line. And here, one note, careful. After the semicolon, you don't have to go to the next line. There are some crazy people who would write it after, and this is not readable. You should not do this. But you can go on at the same line. That has nothing to do with the line here. It has something to do with the semicolon. This is determining the sequence. Till the semicolon, this is considered one sequence, and then till the next semicolon, that would be then here, and then again till the next semicolon. These are the sequence. And here in the compound statement, let's go down here to the compound statement. By the way, the expression statement is interesting. Here, that was the special example what I made. This one and this one is the syntax of our expression. This is the statement, and interesting is both are optional. So if they are both not there, you have just this semicolon there, and here you can read here that this one is called a null statement, and that's why I said yes, it is. Yeah, okay, it is here under expression, but we can't see it, and it is called null statement. It's not listed here additionally, so there are more statements than it is visible here. All right, let's go on. And here was this compound statement, and like I showed you here before, here is again the syntax. Import about the compound statement is, we already talked, I think, about it. If not, no worry. Again, we have here attribute. When you read attributes all the time, these are the things which we normally see only on special places. And then we have this black symbols here. They are very important because that is what you have to use. And you can see, for example, in this example would be this one here. And then there are statements, optional, label, optional. So with other words, everything is optional here. But now the compound statement here, again, I'm not sure about this one here. If you can see this one, a compound statement here in this case, because like I showed you before, this one is a sequence. they say this one is a compound statement, but what they mean here in this case, that this whole thing here belonged to one execution. And we have to be careful about this one, because the compound statement, if you read here the first comment, it says here compound statements or a block group are sequenced or split into a single statement. So what is that? What is the meaning of that, into a single statement? The real thing is here, if you have here a block, and here are a sequence, what I showed you before, till this semicolon, it's a sequence, is a sequence. And what does this make this a compound sequence? Careful, you can see the sequence itself, again, when you read here, it's a declaration statement, it's an expression statement for its own, but the whole sequence here, you can call sequence, and if you make it a little bit more correct, you have to call it here a compound sequence. Why? And the reason for that is because normally your goal, for example here, is just to put out this one, right? That is your goal. I want just put out this n. But the problem here, n was never declared or initialized, let's say, here in the whole code, which means I need this statement here. I have to create this declaration statements, which means I have to declare this one first. After I have specified, introduced all the things here, then I can use it here in this expression statement, which is my second sequence. And that's why they say it, this one, this statement will not work without this one. This belongs together. And because they are belonging together, it is a compound statement, because the goal is normally one single statement here, but it works not alone. You have to provide first information. And let me show you the difference here. This one would call also, but let's say here I make here an example which is not belonging together. Let's say I make here one more line like this one, but on this line I put out just my name. So I write STDC here out, and then here my name. This two would be a compound statement, and the last line would be not a compound statement actually, because it's a separate from this one, has nothing to do with the other part of codes. Normally you when you watch this one here, again, you make here your condition, and then the condition is doing something which has only one purpose most time. That's why they make here this one. Let's watch this one here again. Here they start here with different, here is again a block, like we read here on top, the definition. Let's go on. And then you have again here, you have to be careful if this is really a compound statement or it is just a sequence. Anyway, not so important right now. Let's go on. So, and yeah, let's go to the next one, selection statement. Selection statements, very easy. We talked about this one. You can see the if statement, again with the if statement, with the else clause, the switch statement, what I showed you before. And if I click one off, this one again, the if statement, you say if again and again, no semicolon at the end, where if there is a if. Careful about the shortcut here. This is a shortcut version without the block scope. This works only if you have here one-liner. And you can see it works also with the else. And yeah. Then let's see. Yeah, but important is, again, this selection statement, and we know this. That's the nice thing. We know this, and you are just learning again the names a little bit, right? That's it. And then I think that's very easy. That's why I go fast here. Iteration statement, we know them also. Again, while loop, do while loop, for loop, range for loop. I think we talked all about this one already. Just open one up again. You can see here the while loop is a statement again, but we careful, the body itself has different statements in it, and again, your goal is again to distinguish this. Look, this one that looks a little bit more complicated, but we have here a label statement. This is a label. Then we have this this block scope, again, this block scope statement, or what this was called. Yeah, we have this compound statement. You can see this one here, but it is only a compound, really a compound statement if they are really doing together something to achieve something, if they are not really separated. And then, yeah, something, then we have here our if statement, and then we have here the jump. Again, this jump is not, many don't like it in C++, but it's powerful as long as you check all the where it can go wrong. It will jump from here to here, and then so on. All right, you can see that it's not difficult. That's the nice thing. We can go here fast forward. That was the compound. That was our selection. That's also very important. This word here, selection statements, is interesting, and yeah, because you can see it's also you are selecting something, right? So the if, it's also later in the part of flow control, but yeah, you are still selecting something, and you can select with a if, we know it, and with a switch as well. So keep this in mind, and that was the iteration. You are iterating through something, and you can see here different versions, which we already learned, this while, do while, for, and for range. And now we are going here to the jump statements. We already know the jump statements as well. Here on top was our return. This one here is a jump statement actually. It says here return statement, but is in the section actually jump. Why? Because from here we are executing this one, and after we are executing this one, we are jumping back to the function who was called. And that we can see here. Where's the jump statement again? And here is the return statement here. And yeah, you can see again, break, we already know that was in a switch, for example. Continue, that was also there anywhere. And return, we have here different kind of return statements, and yeah, with optional expressions, yeah, using list initialization. Oh yes, there are different kind of versions, which I'm going not so in, because our goal is just to understand, yes, this is also a statement. It is jump, it is jumping backwards. And this go to, which we just watched, let's watch perhaps this continue. It's not so old time, which we see. You can see while this one, that was this continue, this is careful. This continue is doing here a special purpose. And yeah, and the other one would be the break, which has the special purpose as well. You can just exit here. This one, which we know from the switch, by the way, we can see it. And yeah, then we are going here a little bit down to declaration statements. Again, this is one of our big blocks here, but declaration statement, that was again the top one here. This one we declare. Important is we are introducing a new variable, and the C++ compiler know it after we have introduced it. That's why this one is also not a expression, by the way. And then let's see what we have here. Declaration, yes, initialization, and you can see you can initialize this separately or like they do at the same time. So they declare it here, they initialize it here, and yeah, that's this. And I think the nice thing about the whole thing is where we are. We go here, and the last thing what we need here is our try block, and we talked about this as well. That was our try catch. That is when you want to check a condition, if this is really happens, you most time use, or where you think it can cause a problem and cause errors, then you most time use a try catch block. And this is our try catch block statement. And yeah, we have talked about this. Most of the statements what we see here, we have already talked in a very basic, with very basic. We just saw the syntax, made some examples. Of course not, we dive not too much into it, but I think most of them you know. And like I said, now our goal is when you read here the C++ code, this one is special. This is the preprocessor part. this would be here, which we have not so talked so much. I just said this is a library part. This is just this one here. And there are different versions, which we have also not talked. When we talk about the preprocessor, we have to go into the other. You can see there is something like if causing and something like that. We will talk about this later, but important is this is that. And the classes is also struct in classes. That would be here. The struct is again a special case here. Templates we have not. Exceptions is again this try catch block. This try is a statement here. And yeah, functions are very special as well. And you can see the nice thing is it's not so much, but you have to later to distinguish this. So you can see, okay, declaration. But when you see a semicolon, the nice thing is every semicolon is a statement, and now you have just to find in the statement section, and actually just the first oh, well, why are you jumping there? Actually you have just to to order this one of these parts here. This one we have not talked so far, but if you can order this to one of these parts, you are probably good. And then we will go in the next video a little bit more about expressions. It's easy if you know already this table, that's very good. And the other ones are the words, the special words, and these are also very important for us later. Some words are important because you can see the new expression we are using when we are allocating memory or this casting. We cast a lot actually in C++ when you want to change something. The size of later and thrown expression. Yeah, there are some. This one is also very important. And this one we are going to do in the next video. And you can see I'm going only very simple over all this kind of stuff. And the nice thing is you don't have to explicitly know exactly all. Just get an understanding, because like I said, our goal is later when I go to this expression value category, let me show you this one as well. And then we have this pair X value, and then they are talking something like the L value, and then is a pair L value expression, something like that. And then perhaps they are changing this expression. You can see this is a pair value expression, and we have here a L value expression. So first of all, we have to understand what are here the expressions, and then we have to distinguish these expressions. And that's the reason why we do this all this kind of stuff, that you later watch this. Okay, this one is not an expression. This one, oh, what's happening here? This is a statement, yes, but this kind of part is probably what? An expression. And then we have to see what kind of expression. This one is even changing one kind of expression. This one is changing a L value expression to a R value expression and something like that. And that's the reason these words, that we understand these words, which we have not really talked in our practical C++ tutorial here, because our goal was most time just to understand, yes, what I have to do and how I do this and why I do this. So I hope that was not too difficult. And again, you have to read a good C++ book to understand this kind of stuff a little bit more in detail, a little bit more right, because you can see I just go over this one. And if you say that's too much work, don't worry, just understand that what I just showed you here, the very basics, that's enough for us actually, and to understand this later as well. So if you have any questions, like all time, write in the comment section. See you in the next video. Bye, good luck, and like all time, never give up and have fun.